How do everyone, and welcome back to Royville in 4 Color. My name is Stefan, and this is where I go through what I kind of grabbed this week, my pulls as they say, from my local comic shop, and give you a rundown of what I think about them. Some good, some bad, but I usually like to stay pretty positive as I just love reading and enjoying comic books. Without further ado, I have 9 for you, I think, this week. And let's start with the first one. I have Captain America number 8. And this shows Steve Rogers' Cap defeated, hopefully not, underneath who we believe to be or who is Life. The entity, the person, the personification, not really exactly clear on that issue. This one, he is fighting at a portal to Earth, defending it against Life's brother, Death. And kind of a Perseus-style thing. He can't really look at Death. He has to look at it through an enchanted shield that Life gave to him, or modified Steve's shield. And the whole issue is really him fighting Death and these hordes alongside Life. At the end of it, something happens that very deeply affects Steve Rogers. And I don't know where they're going to go with that, but it will be interesting to see. And also at the end of it, she basically tasks Steve by getting a group together, a group of change agents to fight against what is happening here, her brother's machinations and the like. This story is by J. Michael Straczynski, not a person that most people have not heard of. And the art is by Carlos Magno. And I really like the art. I think it's very fun and fitting to the comic. However, I want to like this story more than I do. I am going to stick with it, but it's kind of middle of the road for me for this week. All right, that was Captain America number 8. The next one I have for you is Batman 256, I believe. Yes, 256. And I really like that cover. Very evocative. This one is written by Chip Zdarsky, who I am a big fan of. And the art is by George Jimenez. And the art's good. The writing's good. This one shows Bruce Wayne trying to escape from Blackgate Prison, who has been placed there with the Joker by his alter ego, his ego, Zur, who is kind of a fanatic, a multiple personality that Bruce set up in case, he ever went off the fanatic, off the plan of ridding Gotham of the criminal element. So Zur is very for the cause, no black and white, this is what needs to happen. So while Bruce is doing that, Zur is going around basically just capturing all of the villains and throwing them into jail. No matter what, judge, jury, you did bad things, you're in jail, doesn't matter. At the end of it, he even goes after Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's like, no, I'm a hero now. But yeah, don't care, you did something bad. Also, what I thought was interesting in this issue, though, was that Zur is basically in a robot failsafe. So I cannot imagine that Damian does not realize that it's not Bruce. Maybe he thinks that this is Bruce's consciousness, which it kind of is. Little timey-wimey here. but he's like all in on Zur and the robot because for the first time his dad is forgiving him and showing him love. That I think was a pretty big misstep for me. I don't know if I like that part of the story. I don't know where it's gonna go. So yeah. Chip is killing it. Chip Zdarsky is killing it with Avengers Twilight. I'm enjoying this read. I really like the Batman family. But once again, this is just kind of middle of the road for me. But I am going to keep it up. All right, that was Batman 146. The next one I have for you is Shazam! Number 10. And this is a pretty busy cover. It shows the Shazam's family's house and some things going on in it. Now, this is the first issue, I think, of the switchover from Mark Waid to Josie Campbell. So Josie Campbell is on the writing, and she is helped by Emanuela Lapacino. And this is just a fun read. It's not going to shatter any box office numbers, shall we say, but it's a really fun read. Basically, in the last issue or the last couple issues, the Batson house was destroyed by a fight between Shazam and Black Adam. So they go to Zeus and basically tell Zeus, please, can you help us? I do all this stuff for you. If you help me and reconstitute the house, rebuild the house, I will proclaim your name through the ages, and everyone's going to think that Zeus is great and start worshiping you again, blah, blah, blah. So he does that. And everyone starts to find out that the closets now lead to weird extra-dimensional areas where the gods reside. So I guess Zeus had to put these little back doors in so that he could create the house again. So it's kind of funny where you open the door and you got the Olympian gods in the closet. And it's just a fun story. They're going through, things are coming out of the closets. They're trying to fight various monsters and talk to the gods in their other realms. And it's just a really fun story. It's a good family story to read, and I really enjoyed it. A good first issue by Josie Campbell, and I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes next. She did allude that there are some major happenings going to be changing, some big changes for Shazam and the Shazam family, and I'm really interested to see where that's going. However, I thought it was kind of funny, and I don't know if this was specifically done. However, when Billy becomes Shazam, he's obviously a Titan is immortal. He's kind of the personification of the power of a mortal form, but he looks a lot younger to me. He looks like he might be in his later teens or early 20s as opposed to kind of the 25, 30-esque mortal is what I kind of envision when I look at past issues of not only this series but other series. So I don't know if they're making him look younger as Shazam as a thing, or it's just the way that Emanuela was drawing him. However, this is a fun read. I recommend this for a family read, and you might want to start picking this up. So that is that one. A very, very good jumping off point for this series. All right. The next one I have for you is one that I've been really enjoying, and that is Birds of Prey number 8. And I really like the colors and everyone smiling on this cover. kind of a hard thing to have happen nowadays in comics, but I really like this cover. This one, basically the idea is that they're helping Vixen out because someone is using she has a clothing line, and someone is using Vixen's clothes to brainwash people to steal things. I don't know, the premise is a little out there, but basically they decide to go to a fashion show and wear lingerie to try to maybe bring out the bad guy. Okay, so this issue is kind of funny. They get into a fight with basically a bunch of clone Zoolanders, if you know that term, and they have to basically defeat them. They're all being brainwashed. They're yelled that we got to get their clothes off them. Yeah, I've been really liking this series. I don't know where they're really going with this. It is written by Kelly Thompson, and the art is by Javier Pina and David Lopez. And I really like the art. It's kind of like the cover. I've been really digging it. It's a little different, but I like it on this book. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that thought this story was really fun. There's a scene where Barda, they yell out, we need to get the clothes off. So she takes off her clothes. Obviously, it's a young adult book, so they're not showing anything, but you can tell that she has her clothes off. That was a big misstep for me because I really like Barda, and it seems to me more and more in this series, they're kind of playing her as the dumb comic relief. She is a very powerful, intelligent woman. I mean, I'm reading this based off of, her run in Tom King's Mr. Miracle that I've just finished a while back. And it seems like she's really degraded in this series. And yes, I kind of liked it a little bit in the start for laughs, and it was fun, but I think more and more they're doing my Barda a disservice. I still really like the book. I'm going to continue it. However, I wish they would kind of do a little bit of, in my opinion, some course correction on the characters. And hopefully this fashion plot either escalates to something new or they start doing something else. But that being said, I did enjoy it more than the first two comics I read, so I am going to stay with it. It's still got my Barda in it. Just kind of make her like the old Barda as opposed to the comic relief Barda. So, yeah. All right, that's Birds of Prey number 8. And the next one I have for you is a very fun read, Usagi Yojimbo. And this is the first issue of The Crow Part 1. Now, I know of this character. I read, you can get some of these online for free through Kindle. They're like the compilations, so I read a little bit of that. You probably don't know, I am a fan of samurai lore. I'm a big fan of history, and I'm a big fan of conflict history. Not that I like conflicts, but I'm interested in the history. World War II, Civil War, all that kind of stuff. And I'm interested in warriors in history, the Vikings, the samurai, that kind of thing. And this is written now, I think pretty much the whole run for years and years has been written by Stan. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Sake. I hope I'm not, because I'm really enjoying your stuff. And he has created almost a fun gateway into Japanese history. I've read that a lot of real Japanese history is kind of woven into the Usagi Yojimbo comic. And just as a little aside, Yojimbo, I think, means bodyguard in Japanese. So it's bodyguard Usagi. And yeah, all of the people are anthropomorphic. This right here is Usagi. And in this issue, he and his cousin here rescue someone that is being attacked by some highwaymen. Come to find out, everyone is hunting this highwayman, even some of his friends from past issues. And it is really, really interesting. The crow, basically the person that they rescue, is named after the first emperor of Japan, and the first emperor had a connection to crows, and this character has a crow as a companion. Yeah, it's really weird. There's anthropomorphic people, but they also have regular animals. So yeah. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. I did, because they reference here that this person is named after the first emperor of Japan. And I'm like, okay, is this just a thing for the comic book? Did they make this up? And then I looked it up, and at least Google is telling me that that is a real thing. So I'm really interested to see where this goes. I really wish I would have started getting Usagi Yojimbo earlier, but I think now this character is going to be on my regular polls if it keeps up with this level of fun. I highly recommend it. It's a very quick read, and if you are interested in Japan or samurai lore, I think this is a strong recommend for you. And I'm definitely going to start picking up these comics. All right, so the next one is back to one of my favorite ladies, Red Sonja, Empire of the Damned, #1. And this is a new miniseries. It is written by Steve Niles, and the art is by Alexandro Amoruso. Once again, always, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, leave it in the comments. And hey, if Alexandro hears it, maybe I can interview. All right. So this shows she's in a tavern. She meets someone. They get into a bar fight. She gets arrested, thrown in jail, escapes with this person. He talks about how he has a map. They run away, and now she's on the hunt for this treasure in this famed city of the dead. Really like the art. A fun adventure story. It's probably not gonna, once again, do any box office records, but it is a very fun adventure story, and I strongly recommend it. I recommend this. No offense to the main title right now. I recommend this more than the main title. If you could only pick one, pick this one. And I am very excited to see where it goes. In my opinion, recently, the miniseries for Red Sonja have been great. So, yeah. Strong recommend for this title. All right. The next one, I got 3 left for you. The next one is Ghost Lore #9. And this is kind of the main bad guy right now. They call him A Man Called Shane. If anyone gets that reference, give you a little hint. I'm a Western fan. All right. So, this one is written by Cullen Bunn, 2 N's, and a little weird. The art is by Leomax, all one word. I really like the art though. I think it reminds me of pre-code horror, and that is such a good fit for this book. Basically, long story short, family gets into an accident. 2 of the family members are killed. The father and the daughter can now see the dead, and they have this ability to listen to the dead stories and let them pass on. As the story is progressing, there seems to be the storm brewing, storm of the dead, something like that. Well, there's factions that are either wanting to run from the storm or use the storm, and one of them is this Shane. He has the ability, and I think maybe a lot of them have the ability, but he has this ability to control the dead and create these revenants, or maybe just control these revenants. Well, he happens upon, he's been hunting because he wants allies in his plight here to take over the dead world or whatever. And he happens upon a group that the daughter is getting to know, and he says, basically gives him an ultimatum: join me or die. And let me tell you, it ends horribly. Horribly. That's all I'm going to say. This series is one of my top pulls every month. I strongly recommend it if you like ghost stories, if you like pre-code horror, if you like a kind of a good family story. Because like I said, the father and the daughter are still around. Honestly, it kind of maybe reminds me a little bit of The Walking Dead. If I still cared about The Walking Dead, no offense to anybody that loves The Walking Dead. I got out of that bandwagon long ago. But yes, I strongly recommend the series Ghost Lore. You should be reading it if you're not. All right. And the next one, the penultimate issue, we'll say, is Bloodshot Unleashed Reloaded #1. Or it's Bloodshot Reloaded Unleashed #1. Not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's not really clear to me what word's supposed to go first, but I'm just going to go with Bloodshot Unleashed Reloaded. Okay, #1. And this one is written by Dennis Camp, and the art is by Al Barrianuvo. And I really like this issue. I'm a big fan of Valiant Comics. They're trying to do kind of this resurgence of Valiant Comics, which I'm on board with, trying to get everything as it comes out. And this one, Bloodshot is fighting a robot, a murdering robot, while his own subconscious is trying to make him a murderer. Because Bloodshot is kind of this anti-hero, but he's a hero. He tries to protect people, and his subconscious, almost a Batmite or Mxyzptlk style character, because the consciousness is not drawn like the reality of the comic is. He's very cartoony, and other than that, it is just a big battle throughout the issue. And I think in the end, Bloodshot gets kind of a leg up on his subconscious. Not really sure if that's going to continue, but I am excited to see where this goes. And if you're into Valiant Comics, if you're into just good action comics, this would be a good recommend for you. All right, and the last one that I read is Immortal Thor #9. And this shows the Enchantress ripping up the first appearance of Thor in a comic book. This is written by Al Ewing, and the art is by Abram Robertson. Okay, I've really been enjoying this series a lot. I think it really pushes on the mythology of Thor and creates a story of kind of epic proportions. However, this issue I thought was kind of a misstep. So for Thor fights some old enemies and finds out that his whole life is basically a comic book, I think is how it happens. It's odd to me because Thor really isn't acting so much like Thor in this issue. I think it kind of says that there was a spell cast on him, and so he might be acting a little weird. I think that's what they're going for. However, I really thought this issue was a misstep for the series. I don't know if it was supposed to be like that, and if it was supposed to be like that, well then, you did great, Al. I mean, honestly. But I was having a hard time as I was reading this issue. And I know they're trying to get this thing where it's the reality of the story, and I kind of get that, and I'm kind of on board for something like that. I just don't know if this was kind of a step back for the story. I cannot recommend this one as much as I can recommend the other ones. However, as the story has been, in my opinion, very well done, I am gonna continue reading it. He finds that he's kind of in this dimension with an old enemy called Minotaur, and Minotaur is like the CEO or owner of Roxxon the corporation. And he now has kind of the ability to rewrite the myth of Thor because of the comic books. I was a little confused about where this is going. But I'm interested to see where it goes. However, I do think that it was kind of a misstep. But that being said, it's still my boy Thor, and we're going to see where this goes. Maybe it was just me not understanding, not being smart enough to understand Al's great prose. But yeah. All right. So there's 3 more issues I got with my polls this week. However, I am going to do them on a separate video because they are part of a new launch of a new kind of comic book company, and I think it deserves a little bit of its own video. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed me going over these comics. Is there any of them that you've read that you are really excited about? Was I wrong about Thor? Was it not a misstep? Was I wrong? Am I wrong about Batman? Is it not, am I wrong about, am I just wrong? Just let me know kindly in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when these drop, and leave a comment because I would really like to hear from anyone that is either a fan of this or of comics. And always remember what your mom said. If you gotta be a dick, be a Grayson. Keep reading, everyone. Thanks.